Hi everyone, welcome to Arinda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. I'm your host Arinda, and today we're talking about Dragon Ball Z with Rory. Dragon Ball Z follows the adventures of Goku who, along with the Z Warriors, defends the Earth against evil. The action's adventures are entertaining and reinforce the concept of good versus evil. Dragon Ball Z teaches valuable characters virtues such as teamwork, loyalty, and trustworthiness. Dragon Ball Z is very nostalgic for me. I always used to watch it with my younger brother. In one way, it was like laughing about things, but also there was something I still keep watching it. I must say I like the storyline, and I think that makes me watching it because you wanted to know what happened next. The thing I really like about it was that this was something I watched together with my younger brother on a Saturday morning, just as a brother and sister would do. After that, it was always Thunderbirds and Gundam Wings time. Our guest today is Rory. Hello, Rory, and thank you for joining me.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, tell me in your own words, what is Dragon Ball Z?
Dragon Ball Z, to me, and I think a lot of the fans would agree as well. It's just a fun anime to watch. Colorful, loud. It's awesome. You know, the characters are just bright. Um, but specifically for me, I grew up watching Dragon Ball. I'm like 39, so it's uh, it's like that type of. It's like the one cartoon or TV show that I watched all through my childhood and all through my adulthood as well. It's lasted that long, so that's awesome. And I've gotten, through life or whatever, you have certain characters or mentors or people that influence you. It, Dragon Ball is the most influential like TV show or out of a lot of things that I had in my life back then. So I've always kind of wanted to I've taken a lot of the personality traits of Goku when I was growing up. He's the
Main character.
main character. He's fun. He likes to, he gets excited about simple things, like of course he's fighting. Um, but he's just a good person. He's good-hearted. He kind of tries to help people, even though there's an argument going on there, but like he's the hero of the story basically. He's the Superman, or you know, uh, he's basically Japan's version of Superman, I guess. Which that would probably be Goku and Superman fighting each other would be like, I don't know, another podcast or several.
Who will win that?
And, uh, I yeah, that's such.
Difficult.
I mean, I love them both. I love Goku more, so Goku would always win. But I've seen some death battles where they make some really good points on both sides, and Superman wins just about every time. I won't go into that because that is I don't know the details. I don't remember them, but watch some like death battles. Those are amazing. They actually have like pretty good animation. But yeah, that's why I love Dragon Ball. Like I've just grown up with it. I've learned a lot of my character traits, my personality traits are from some of the characters in the show that I just liked. Is why I love it so much.
How have you become interested in Dragon Ball? How have
How did
they?
I? That was a long time ago. We still had like VHS tapes. I don't know if anybody remembers those. Those are the. That's how I watched Dragon Ball. I don't remember like the first time I got into Dragon Ball. We kind of had the internet back then, a little bit later, so it might have been part of that. But I think I just bought like VHS tapes at like a local Blockbuster or something or whatever it was back then. And of course, I had friends that are were into it as well. So somebody probably told me about it and was like, "You need to watch this." Just like any anime, you're like, "Hey, this anime is awesome. You need to get into it." Like Naruto or whatever. But that's probably how it happened. and they actually came out with a Dragon Ball trading card like game. I remember playing that one. It was like the old, super old school one where you like battle and you have the characters in your battle and stuff like that. And of course, I played a bunch of the video games, Xenoverse, Fighter, whatever. There's a bunch of them, Kakarot, and it just kept going. They keep coming out with new stuff that's amazing. Developing the characters. They actually came out with a new Dragon Ball Super card game, which is what I've been into like a lot this past like few years. Collecting all the cards, they're a bit expensive, but the game is so much fun. And if you've I don't know if you ever played like uh, Magic Gathering, that card game, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that. You familiar with those?
Yeah, I know what those are.
Okay. So it's basically that kind of game, but you have a leader that's a character, Vegeta or Goku or Piccolo or whoever. Um, and you have, supporting cards and all this other stuff. Just like any of those games. I won't go super detailed into it, but it's very challenging. The people that play this are very hardcore. Like I've gone to a bunch of local tournaments, and I basically never win ever because these guys are just so good at the game. It's frustrating, but it's also yeah, I don't really care because I love Dragon Ball and I like things that challenge me and stuff like that. So
I think that's
um,
also because it is so popular in all over the world, and almost everyone knows it or
oh yeah,
have heard of it.
hmm yeah. I mean, he's Goku is basically the Superman of the entire planet, like our planet. Like Superman is popular, but I would guess that more people know who Goku is.
Well, tell the listeners then
Mhm.
what a little bit more about Goku.
Sure. Like I said, he's a good-hearted family man, kind of ish. You could argue that a lot actually, but he's just a good character. He's like the character that's like the ideal for everybody. He's the one that he has his flaws and whatever, but he keeps everybody he fights ends up like respecting him and turning good typically. That kind of thing. So he's like he helps everybody out like all the time. He changes people's perception on like being evil and stuff. And he's just an amazing fighter. He always thinks of like interesting things to do and coming up with I don't know ridiculous transformations and um, stuff like that. To be fair though, of course I love Goku. Who really doesn't in that in Dragon Ball? But my favorite character is Vegeta. I have Vegeta stuff like everywhere.
Can you explain why he is your favorite?
I don't know. Um, I think like the root cause of that is probably because he's always been more of the underdog, and I've always rooted for like the underdog of whatever situations. I guess Vegeta's been the side character the entire time, pretty much. But he's been like the most influential character on Goku because they just keep building each other up and challenging each other. You know, neither one of those characters would be where they are, without each other, kind of thing. They're like best friends, even though they claim to hate each other all the time. I'm gonna kill you, Goku. Blah blah blah. It's like, okay, dude. Yeah, all right. Well, you
See you
can
next
try.
time.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's why I love Vegeta. I've always loved his attitude, and since he's been since they've developed his character, I feel like he's the most developed character out of any of them. Yeah, and there's tons of characters, but yeah, he's my favorite. I guess that's why.
Okay, good. So, do you also play the video games?
I have, yes. Let me look that up because I have them in here somewhere. Fighter Z is like a It's like a fighting game, like Mortal Kombat or something else. Super fun, just like the anime, colorful, exciting. It's super fun, like visually and auditorially, just amazing. And then of course, if you love the anime, you're gonna love all the characters and you get to play with them and stuff like that. I will say though, I am terrible at fighting games. So I tried playing it online for a while, and I wanted to be like hardcore about it because I love the game and Dragon Ball and stuff like that. But the people that play that game, yeah, and fighting games in general, but Fighter Z and they're good. Like you play online and you're gonna get stomped like every single time almost, unless you like constantly play the game. But there are other modes and stuff that you can play that are fun, play against computers and stuff. But Xenoverse and Xenoverse 2 are fighting games also. They just came out a little bit later. Same stuff, better graphics, more fun, all that good stuff. And there's been a couple other games. I played Dragon Ball Z Kakarot that came out. I think might be the most recent one. It originally was called Project Z. I read some articles about that back in the day. I don't really remember what the reasoning for that was, but anyway, it came out as Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. They actually made some special Dragon Ball card game cards when this came out. I've got some of those. Those are pretty cool looking. It's not the greatest card ever, but it's awesome. Yeah, it's like you run around as different characters. You start out with like Gohan, I believe. To be honest, I didn't really like it. Uh, People may argue with me about that, but like I have 8 hours that I played it. It wasn't the greatest. I definitely play the fighting games over that one. But and I love RPGs. Don't get me wrong. Just didn't seem fun. But anyway, there's a ton of other ones too. I think that I'm not extremely familiar with. What else we got?
Do you like to play the card games more than the video games?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you Melanie, have you ever played like poker or Texas Hold'em or card games like that?
Yeah, I did.
It it reminds me of that kind of game, especially before COVID happened. Like I didn't when COVID happened, I didn't play like everybody started playing online, with either on Discord with like cams or there's a lot of cam tournaments. An example of all that is my fa- probably my favorite one of my favorite two YouTube channels for that is Super Players and Crossworlds are the ones that I watch the most. If you ever anybody wants to ever get into the game, those are the two to start out with. Um, but and there are plenty more as well. But yeah, I like playing in person. Um, you get that like poker kind of feeling, like you're looking somebody in person, you know at their mannerisms and things, trying to figure out what they're gonna do. It's like online you can't do that, and I think that's the really the most fun part of playing the game. So when COVID happened, I kind of got out of it for a while. I kept all my cards and I kept still buying stuff, but collecting because these cards are also worth a lot.
I do think that playing more board games or card games is more like our generations because we've grown up with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree with that. Definitely.
Because I have to say, I have the same thing. I rather play a board game or a card game than that I play online a game. My fiance was that crazy that he convinced me to try 2 years ago to play Star Trek Online. And I was very, very against it because that was so not me. But after 2 years, I kind of like it, but still, it's for me better. It's also we had a when it was when it became the dark season of the winter season. We always like a family. We built Lego and we did board games at night. So to occupy ourselves, we didn't put the television on or whatever, but we play board games and play with
That's
Lego.
Yeah. I did too. I had so many Legos, so many Legos. But yeah, like board games are great. I still play board games like I try to like every other weekend or at least with some of my friends. We video game like all the time, but it's really nice just to actually like sit down and have drink, food, and whatever, and with your friends and stuff. It actually, I don't know if you did you ever go to like LAN parties back in the
I
day or
didn't,
recently?
but I must say it's I do have an interest of playing like D&D or World of Warcraft or Warhammer, but I never got into it.
I play a lot of Warhammer actually. Yeah, but that stuff is so like a LAN party is you just bring everybody brings their computer to you know a big room or whatever, and everybody hooks up and plays video games that way. That's like a good in between the two because you actually get to like hang out physically with your friends, but and
Yeah,
like yell at them in the room, kind of stuff. So it's like a good in between for those. I've been to QuakeCon. Me and Rob have been to QuakeCon like a billion times. It's so much fun.
my fiance he has a some plan in his mind to put a LAN party together on our wedding day.
How do
I
you feel about
said,
that?
no, I'm so screwed.
I would like it. I would love to come to that. I would love to go to a wedding that was a LAN party. That'd be so much fun.
Well, it's gonna be a little bit of difficulty, I guess, but
Yeah.
we do have a plan to put the wedding in like a Star Trek Online with our friends. That we're going to, for example, to Vulcan, and we're going to be there on by the statue of Spock, and we go with our characters on there, and then we held some kind of a wedding ceremony there.
That sounds like so much. I've heard of people doing that, and I've never actually like seen it or seen any videos or anything on it. But um, it sounds so much fun. Who's gonna be like the person the I forget who runs. What's the name of somebody that like runs a wedding? I forget.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean,
Uh,
but it's just we will see. We because of COVID, we postponed this, so we will see when or what or whatever. We
yeah,
just
that's actually like a perfect idea because of COVID. Get married in a video game.
yeah, well,
Um,
it's just because we have a lot of friends who also play Star Trek Online. We said, well, that's just a little bit of Star Trek related things in our wedding, so
yeah,
we will see what's gonna
yeah,
happen. Um,
sounds like fun.
yeah, well, we will see. Um, so how much of big fan are you of Dragon Balls?
I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm the biggest fan on the planet. I'm sure there are people that are way bigger fans than I do. I see videos of people that have like hundreds or thousands of Dragon Ball like figurines and statues and posters and what all that. They do cosplay all the time. I'm not that on that level, but I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. Like anybody that knows me is probably annoyed about how much I talk about Dragon Ball. Just like they're like, all right, I love you, man, but you talk about Dragon Ball too much. Like, I'm like, I don't care. You're knowing things about Dragon Ball whether you like it or not. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a strong a fan, and I can argue uh, with anybody pretty much,
Did that
about
started from the beginning when you saw it?
yeah. So I didn't. I started with Dragon Ball Z, which was like 80s
Mm-hmm.
ish, I think. I want to say Dragon Ball actually came before that uh, at some point. I don't remember exactly, but anyway, I started with Dragon Ball Z, and then I've watched literally everything. Dragon Ball Super is freaking amazing. A lot of emotional spots in that show. From like just watching Dragon Ball Z from my childhood, so it brought back a lot of things you know uh, that I remember from back then, like emotional points
Was
in the show,
this
I guess.
was this also something to you could escape to?
Oh yeah, yes, yes. Thank you for actually asking that. A lot of times, if I'd had like a bad day, traffic's terrible, whatever happens, like one of the things, like typically the first thing I do is I do something Dragon Ball related. Like I'll put this, random episode on,
Mm-hmm.
um, that I know that I love. I'll like just make a card deck out of the Dragon Ball card game. Yeah, I'll just do something with Dragon Ball because it always makes me feel good, or better, uh, than what I was doing. So like, and also I always get like super pumped up and energetic after I watch like an episode or something. So like, it's a really good pre-workout show. If everybody like, you may have heard of the Train Insane,
Mm-hmm.
Insane Train Insane. Um, it's based on that. Yeah, I mean, you watch an episode of Dragon Ball, you're gonna feel like going to to work out or something. Um, so yeah, definitely. I use that as like a aphrodisiac, or to get me back in a good mood a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, or something like that.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I have that with Star
Mhm.
Trek. Star Trek pulled me to the darkest days in my life.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about with that, because I did the same thing with Star Trek too. I'm a pretty big Star Trek fan, not as big as Rob, but yeah, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. It's kind of the same thing with Dragon Ball and Star Trek. Sometimes I'll watch a Star Trek episode, um, to do, to just to get better mood or something.
So, can you tell me something about the storyline?
The storyline. All Goku wants to do is fight because it gets him excited, and he fights a bunch of people, and they usually, everybody gets stronger. But it's really simple, to be honest. Of course, there are, more deeper levels than that, but that's the gist of it. And like the newer stuff is like Dragon Ball Super. They're actually in a Universal tournament, so
Okay.
they're, you know, uh, Goku and Vegeta, and they create a team, Gohan, and they get to fight all these other like ridiculously strong, characters in other universes, and that's basically what Dragon Ball Super is about. And of course, and if one of the universes, every one of their fighters loses, they get just wiped out, like off. They just don't exist anymore by Zeno, which is like the highest god supposedly in the show. So there's a lot on the line, and that's perfect for like Goku and Vegeta and everybody. They always want to be like strongest, fight the strongest, so they can get stronger, and so on and so forth, and that kind of stuff. I will say, I don't know how much time we have, or whatever, but I definitely need to say this: the the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie is not only my favorite Dragon Ball TV show or movie, or whatever. It's my favorite of all time of anything. It is so good, so exciting. It literally, they just they just did such a good job with that, and I'll be watching that over and over and over and over and over again for basically forever. I highly recommend it. There is a lot of yelling, so if your TV's up kind of loud, just
Put it down.
like half the movie is just them screaming at each other or powering up. There isn't a
That
whole
was
lot to
always
it. Like,
fun to see, yeah, the powering up.
oh yeah, oh yeah. They have new transformations, and there's actually one part where Goku's about to fight. Actually, let me say this about Vegeta first. Vegeta usually doesn't go red hair God mode, and this is the first movie that he's ever done that, which is one of the more powerful transformations. It's basically after Super Saiyan. There's several levels of Super Saiyan, and Super Saiyan God is like really the transitional one between being immortal and being a god. He has like god energy and stuff like that, and he can. They never show it, so that's like one of the biggest things about this the Broly movie is he just does that, and you're like, what? He's never done that. Like, holy crap! Okay, that's awesome. So you get to see Vegeta do that, and then Goku fights Broly, and he's about to fight, and he's getting pumped up, and he's kind of hopping around like, all right, I'm getting loose, and then he starts to transform because he's Broly's already like a huge power level. He's very powerful at this point after he fought Vegeta and stuff. So he powers up, and he goes through the different colors of all the transformations, right? So yellow is the Super Saiyan, so he goes through that, and then he goes through the red one, the Super Saiyan God, and then these are all like auras. Um, and then it flashes to green, which Goku has never done. Other characters have, like Broly is like a green aura, and he's like a green Super Saiyan legendary something something something. So that was cool. So it kind of like he like tried to do that, but it didn't really work. So then it actually looked like he went tried to go Ultra Instinct, which is more of like a silver aura. It's Ultra Instinct is like the latest transformation. Like it's awesome. So he tries to do that, but at that point in the storyline, he isn't really good at it. He's done it kind of on accident a couple times. So that was cool. And then he's like, okay, fine, I'll just go my Super Saiyan Blue like I normally do, which is his sort of it's like second best transformation. He gives him God power. It's really strong. So that's what he uses to fight with. And then it's just a ridiculously epic fight from there on out. Like just like I literally would just stare at it, and like nothing can get my attention. And then there's of course a lot of other good stuff in that as well. Highly recommend it.
Can you tell the listeners something about Goku's and Gohan's enemies?
I mean the biggest one is Frieza. He is he's like the emperor of the universe at the time of Dragon Ball Z. Everybody's super scared of him because he's extremely powerful, and that's when Frieza kills like all of Goku's friends basically. Piccolo, Krillin is Goku's friend that he grew up with. He just like explodes him, and that's what set off Goku turning into the Super Saiyan for the very first time ever. Of course, at this point, Super Saiyan was just a 1,000-year-old legend that they were like, it's impossible. Nobody's ever seen it. Blah blah blah. So that's what that transformation is the pinnacle point of like the turning point of where Goku was gonna die. They're like everybody was, and he turned into the Super Saiyan and was able to, outpower and maneuver and stuff with Frieza. It was an epic fight. I remember watching that fight on VHS back in the day, and Dragon Ball had a tendency to really drag out things like way too long. Like that one fight lasted like I don't know 16 episodes or something. Uh,
Yeah, I remember.
it gets a lot of crap for it. On Amazon, though, they have Dragon Ball Kai, I believe is what it's called. It's kind of a condensed version of Dragon Ball Z. So if anybody, wants to kind of catch up on Dragon Ball Z, that's the way to go. But yeah, like one episode would be like just show somebody powering up the entire time, and maybe like talking some smack or something, and and that was about it. But it was epic, and I know they did that because they wanted to like draw it out as like an epic fight. Like this was the most epic fight ever, kind of thing. So that's like the main villain. still a villain, but he's actually in Dragon Ball Super as like helping them out in the tournament. And of course, Frieza's all mad because he lost that first fight with Goku, and he's always trying to get stronger so he can defeat Goku. It's kind of the same thing with Vegeta, but they're kind of like friends-ish now. I mean, they're enemies, but they're friends. Or like it
A love and
probably
hate relationship.
yeah. It's like I'm gonna get you one day, kind of thing. Is like okay, we'll bring it on, dude. I mean, they just keep doing that. And it ends up being like a good relationship. you know, the, but yeah, that the Frieza fight was epic. I'm trying to think of some other villains. That's the main one. Yeah, Piccolo, Vegeta were all enemies of Goku at first. Majin Buu, also a big enemy. He's probably one of the most powerful enemies. He's like the bubblegum guy, if you've ever seen him. He turns into like Kid Buu and stuff, and he gets extremely powerful. And he also he has a lot of other abilities, like you could punch a hole through him and he'll just like heal it back up, um, kind of stuff. So after Frieza, Majin Buu is probably the second most epic fight they had, and that was like towards the end of Dragon Ball Z. And I
Do you
guess Dragon Ball Super. I don't know that I mean, they have like enemies, but it's not like a specific one for a while there, and then they ended up just being in the tournament. So technically everyone's that they're fighting against is an enemy, but it's a tournament, so it's more respectful and stuff like that. So it's not like people are dying, all that kind of thing.
do you have any favorite episodes?
Yes, there is an episode in Dragon Ball Super, but several actually. I'll try to mention at least a couple of them. Where I don't know if you know the little bit of backstory on Gohan, which is Goku's son. He was growing up, and you know, he was really strong. Like he had an insane amount of potential. He's Goku's son. He was the only one that actually defeated Cell. Is actually one of their bigger enemies in Dragon Ball Z. I think that was right before Majin Buu. Gohan was the first character to go Super Saiyan 2, and that's how he defeated Cell. So he's really strong back then, had a lot of potential, and then they just dropped him. They just dropped him as like a strong character basically, and they were like, all right, well, Goku's mom is gonna make him like study, so now he's all about like studying and stuff and not getting stronger. Well, they kind of they come back to that in Super, in one of the later episodes of Dragon Ball Super, right, where they have Gohan. Gohan's in the tournament. They make him the team leader. He doesn't do like Super Saiyan transformations like like all the other Saiyans do. He's like, Dad, I want to forge my own path. I want to get as strong as I can, you know, uh, this way. So he just has his like normal aura, I guess. They call it something like Ultimate Gohan, I think, is kind of what the fans and everybody calls it. And there's this one episode where Gohan's been training with Piccolo a bunch, trying to get on like his dad's level basically, but like through his own way, right? He just doesn't want to like do Super Saiyan and power up and that'd be, easy, same path as his dad went on, kind of thing. He wants to forge his own way. So they get done with training. Gohan goes up to his dad and is like, Dad, fight me with literally everything you have. And Goku's like, you sure about that? Like, like, so they do. They power up. They start fighting. Um, they fight. They fly up in the air, and Gohan is like above Goku. Goku's like flying up towards him, right? Try to paint this is this picture as best I can, from what I remember of it. It's so Goku's as he's going up, he's powering up, he's powering up. He goes Kaioken times like 20 is what he can do at that point. So he's Super Saiyan Blue, and then adds like 20 times the power to it. Is his his like strongest thing at that point. So he's going all out. Gohan is powered up, he's ready, and it's like this epic scene where they just show like the blue and red. from a distance going up, and like the explosion where they collide, and you're like, oh my god, what happened? Is Gohan stronger than his dad? You know, they kind of like they paint that like picture. It's like, what just happened? What? Gohan? Oh no! So then they show it back up. The like dust clears or whatever, and Goku is still like he's hurt a little bit. I mean that it was a very powerful attack from Gohan. He's like just under his power level at that point, right? And they show that Gohan couldn't handle the punch from his dad, so he's actually like falling, and he's just gonna hit the ground because he's kind of like passed out. And there's his dad's like mad respect. My son's awesome. Then he goes and catches him, and he like tells him something sappy, I think, or something like that. That was probably that was one of my most favorite episodes ever, man. It was really emotional.
Yeah, then talking about the powers Goku and Gohan have, how can we, how can I say this, relate to in other powers?
Relate
Because
to in other powers.
I think it's just, in that time it was phenomenal and also a little bit of hilarious because it was way over the top.
Yeah.
But it's, I
So
think it's one way it kept me going on watching it because
oh yeah.
you wanted to know from okay what's happening now and how much more power can they have.
Oh Lord, yeah. That's the constant question of you know how strong is everyone gonna get? So they have power levels, is what they call it. Um, and then like Dragon Ball Super, like the the newer stuff, like some people can sense other people like how much power somebody else has. They can control how much they give off. It's all about like the power comes from their ki. If you're familiar with that, just like just about any anime, that's how they get their power. They build up the energy within themselves and learn to control it, and that's how they do the things that they do. So yeah, there's like videos crunching numbers and running algorithms on like super detailed stuff about like number wise where their power levels are and comparing everyone and stuff like that. It's really interesting. But yeah, I mean, at first, like their power levels, like one of the bigger points of Dragon Ball was when God, I forget who that was. I want to say Vegeta had a little scouter back then. They had these little like little scouter machines that they put on the side of their face. And it's like little glasses kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
that. Yeah,
yeah, so that's the scouters back then were how they detected another person, like another power level, like a decent power level. It would show them some number. When
isn't that
somebody
also
was
not
like
in the?
over 9,000, you may have heard that before. It's pretty popular, but like, yeah, I mean, after Dragon Ball Z though, like they're in like the billion millions. Yeah, so like nobody uses like power levels really anymore, or at least like people can just sense it now. They actually make like Vegeta makes fun of people because they're he's like, oh, you can't just sense power levels. Like, what have you been doing for the past like 100 years? But yeah, I think they do some ridiculous things. Like, I remember Goku one time in Dragon Ball Z. He just Krillin had been through a lot of stuff, and Goku wasn't around. And Krillin was like, "There's so much stuff we've been through. I don't know where to begin to like get you caught up for it, right?" So Goku's like, "Oh, don't worry about it," and he puts his hand on Krillin's head and just like reads his mind, like out of nowhere. Like he's never done anything like that, and all of a sudden he can like read his mind, and he doesn't ever do that like ever again. I don't think. And there's a couple times where he can actually do like telekinesis, which is not something he typically ever does. He did it like once or twice, I think. Other characters can, like Frieza actually does that a good bit. But yeah, there's some other stuff. I mean, Goku can teleport for some reason. Oh, there's something. What else he do? I forget some of the other ones, but those are some of the most like ridiculous ones. You can pretty much do anything with your ki, apparently.
Well, I have a maybe a little bit of a cheesy question now for you.
Sure.
If you could be one of the characters, who would you be and why?
Definitely be Vegeta. Yeah, kind of like I said earlier. He's kind of always been the underdog, especially under. He's one of the most powerful characters in general, but he's always been right under Goku. I don't think even Vegeta has ever actually defeated an enemy by himself. I have to look that one up maybe, but definitely Vegeta. He over the years, I guess his character has changed so much. He used to be evil, kill people left and right, and he doesn't do that anymore. He really just wants to get, I guess, just more powerful. He wants to quote unquote defeat Goku one day. But he's got a family and stuff now, and he's still like grumpy Vegeta. He's still like super hardcore. He still has those like the Saiyan, the pure Saiyan genes where he's loves to fight. He doesn't deal with any like BS. Basically, he's always right to the point. And I've always liked that about him because I was like when I was growing up, I was like super shy. I was basically the complete opposite of Vegeta's character, and I always loved it. I was like, how does he do that? He's so cool. He's so
Yes,
hardcore.
in one way, you could say he was also like a role model for you,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
something.
Yeah. Pretty much all the characters were, but him the most. I don't know. I don't particularly know why. I felt like I was just closer to where he came from, kind of thing. Vegeta's probably had literally the hardest life out of any of those characters, but he's still going. He doesn't look back. He's just like, I got to do this. I gotta train insane. I'd have to keep going. There's nothing that's gonna stop me from, you know, keep moving forward. And that's really what I get from Dragon Ball. That's like the main thing I learned, or I like Dragon Ball taught me as growing up was like, you don't ever stop, no matter what hits you, whatever like life hits you with, you just keep going, no matter what.
Do you go to conventions of Comic Cons or like LAN parties in a way? And do you see a lot of Dragon Ball Z cosplay?
I Well, I have definitely not recently. I haven't, because of COVID and all that, but I have in the past. Yeah, there's a good bit these days, though. I don't know if you're familiar with TikTok.
Yeah.
Um, I watch a lot of TikToks. There's still a lot of Dragon Ball cosplay, and just videos of them, doing stuff or whatever. People making content for that. It's still huge. It's very big, and they do some really good stuff. Like all the Dragon Ball Z stuff that I find on TikTok, I usually just save it so I can watch it later. They're like over and over again.
Is that
Um,
something you do it yourself too and get inspiration of?
no, I haven't. I don't make any content. I just use it like if I'm at work or something, and or just around. I'll have it on my phone so I can be like, if I need like a quick pick me up or something, like, I'll just watch like the video and like give me like chills and stuff. Um, I did make a Rocket League video that's pretty good. It's got kind of like a techno remix of a Goku shooting a Kamehameha. It's pretty cool. It literally gives me chills every time. So yeah, that's why I keep them, or just like show other people or something. But there's a good bit of cosplay left still.
Do you cosplay
I-
yourself or you're not going to do it?
No, I never have. I mean, I wear a the most cosplay I do is I wear a like a Capsule Corp trucker hat. And of course I got a bunch of other you know Vegeta shirts and stuff like that. But not yet anyway. I need to get in better shape. I don't really train insane like I should, kind of thing.
Or would you like to add something about Dragon Ball Z, what we already talked about?
Not really. I really covered like everything that I really passionate about. And of course I miss some things, I'm sure. But there is Dragon Ball Super has been over for a little while. They're coming out with a new movie at some point next year, I believe. Maybe later this year, early next year, some around there. So that I'm extremely excited about that because it's the next movie after the Broly movie. So I expect it to be pretty much on par with that one, and it's my favorite ever.
Well, thank you for being my guest today.
Yeah, absolutely, it's my pleasure.
It
Fun.
was really great and nice talking to you.
You as well.
And well, maybe we will
Yeah.
talk again in the next episode.
Yeah, fun. I'd absolutely love to be on several more, even talking about Star Trek or any other. I'm into like everything. Godzilla, whatever. um, it was really fun. Thank you for having me on.
Dear listeners, I'd like to thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope you like it, and I try to be diverse as much as I can. Tell me what you think how I'm doing with this podcast. If you have any tips for me how I can do things better, let me know. If you'd like to talk about this episode or want to comment on this episode, you can reach out on Podbean, the Facebook group, the YouTube channel, and the Discord server on Orlando Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. And I also have a Twitter account especially for this podcast at OTFASP. Orlando Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi is also listen, follow, and subscribed on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcast, the Facebook group, and YouTube channel. The next episode we will talk about is Merlin the series. I am your host Orinda. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.